We've had urgency and effort about every day. I really like this team. I like the way they've worked. We've tried to explain to them, you won the second most games in the ACC, so you're close. The thing we haven't done is we haven't finished, and that's why people get frustrated. It's why we get frustrated. So we've got to finish better, and they understand that. So mentally and physically, they've got to bring it every day. That's what we haven't done. We've beaten some teams that we were not as good as, and we've lost to some teams that we were better than. So they've got to bring it every day, and that's what we've talked to them about in this camp that's most important. And if you don't, you're average. So many people can't do that. And it's hard to bring your mind and your physicality every day, especially when you're tired. You've had 10, 11 days of practice and you're worn out in this heat. And that's just a huge part of this. We have been really focused on turnovers. We're not forcing enough turnovers with our defense. We've always taken care of the ball with our offense. So it's hard, but our defense has got to do a better job of turning over, forcing turnovers. Same thing with explosives. We looked at last year's explosives given up by the defense, and most of them were missed assignments. And that's when they're tired. So that's why we're playing too deep. We've got a lot more people on the field and playing four safeties. Right now, any of the four could be in the game at any time, and we've never been able to do that. So we're really working on our depth, and we've got to create more explosives on offense. You lose somebody like Tez Walker, I mean, you don't have the same speed outside, so you got to work at trying to create explosives. Really working hard on penalties. We've had too many penalties. We've got the smartest kids in the league. We've got the best APR in the league, and we've been up in the penalties every year. So it makes no sense. So we've just told the guys that we will have absolutely no pre-snap penalties. It's unacceptable. If they have one, we're taking them out. And we're telling the guys there will be absolutely no post-whistle penalties. If they do that, they're running a lap and staying out the rest of that rack of plays as they go through. So we're and then we're penalizing. We're doing physical drills for consequences for guys that have holding penalties or pass interference penalties. So those are usually what you have. So we're actually taking another step for enforcement into those areas. Working really hard on the red zone. We've been average on the red zone on offense. We've been bad in the red zone on defense. So every day we're working live on the red zone. And you saw it today. That's what we did. We had a red zone scrimmage here at the end. So we've got to improve in that area. And then we've always talked about dominating in special teams. How do we finish stronger? You get more depth. It helps morale. It keeps people fresh, and you have fewer injuries. And that's a huge part of what we've got to fix at the end of the year. We've hit more because we've got more depth, and we're more physical right now in this camp than we've been since we've been here because we can be. We're already looking at who would be on the travel squad. We will take about 80 guys to Minnesota. So we're telling the guys, how do you get on that plane? And what do you have to do to get on the plane? And we've got lots of competition. It's really fun. If right now, when you've got guys like Josh Harris and Travis Shaw and Kevin Hester, and you've got guys like Rucker and Des Evans getting after you, the offense better come out here ready to play because they're going to get embarrassed if they don't. And that's something we haven't been able to do. We've put a lot on the leadership committee. This is an older team. It's an older mix with a lot of young guys that are going to play. It's really a unique mixture of what we've got, but we've put a lot on these guys. Ask them to handle all the discipline in their units and making sure that they call the guys out and help coach them on the field. And they're doing a really good job in that area. Scrimmage, I felt like the defense dominated the scrimmage on Thursday, and as it usually is yesterday, we had another type scrimmage, and the offense dominated it. So that's what we got to do. We can't come out one day with one bunch and another day with the other. We've got to get more consistent as we go through it. And our scrimmage the other night was at game time. It was at 7 o'clock. It was raining, so we were lucky to get it in, but it was great to have a scrimmage with rain and wind and all the things that can happen in a game that you can't prepare for. The last thing before I answer your questions is that it's really, really helped us that the analysts and QCs can coach. Ty McKenzie played 9 years in the NFL, and he coached 8. And he's helping Coach Thigpen with the linebackers, and he's also helping coach special teams. Then you've got Nick Newsom, who was a coordinator at, I think, Gardner-Webb, but he worked with Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech. You got Jimmy Lindsey, who was a defensive line coach at Illinois, South Carolina, and LSU. So we got a lot of great guys that are stepping up to help. Clyde Christensen has helped so much. I mean, you got the best quarterback coach in the country coaching your quarterbacks along with Chip. But when Randy Clements had to go to the hospital and had to miss a week, Chip was able to go down and help with the offensive line because Clyde could coach quarterbacks. You got Natron Means that can help the running backs when Larry Porter's working with special teams. And then you got guys like Caleb Pickrell and Kyle Fuller, who are younger coaches that could actually coach the offensive line while Randy was gone. And then we're so lucky to have Eric Mealy, and Eric was the special teams coordinator at Washington State and at Mississippi State for Mike Leach, and he has really been helpful with our special teams. So we've been able to be more organized and get more things done at one time and be more efficient. Questions?
How much closer are you with the quarterback situation? How much clarity have you gotten, especially since you guys have gone pads?
We'll have a scrimmage on Saturday that will be a really good scrimmage like the first one. And then after that, we'll start looking hard at depth charts and personnel more and more.
Is it still going back and forth?
It is. It is. All 3 of them are good enough. That's a good thing. Now we got to figure out who's the one that gives us the best chance to win. And you've got differences in that Connor can throw and runs 4.4. He hadn't played very much. Max has played 1,600 games and thrown 900 passes in the SEC and played against very tough competition in a tough league and loud stadiums. And Jacoby's behind them simply because he wasn't here for the spring. So right now it would be Max and Connor competing at the highest level and Jacoby coming on.
Like you said, the defense had a dominant showing in the scrimmage. A lot of times, it starts up front, in the trenches in that front 7. How would you kind of describe the way the front line defensively played?
I am so excited about our front 7. We're thin at linebacker. I mean, that we've got to get a 3rd and 4th, 5th linebacker. So that's critical. We've got some of that at each position. But Josh Harris has brought energy. He's brought maturity. He's brought leadership. And he has really excited those guys. And he has been a huge plus for us inside. And he's helping all the others grow up. And Ted Monachino's an amazing coach. So I like what I see out of those guys right now.
And then you mentioned linebacker. How much closer are some of those next guys? I know Short and LaValle, their names have kind of come up. How much closer are those guys getting to being kind of in that rotation?
You've got Short, LaValle. You've got Ashton Woods. You've got the Law brothers, all that are competing for those 2 spots. And what we're trying to do is tell the coaches it needs to be the best players. If you say, well, he can't play Mike, he's got to play Will, I don't want that. Get the best guy out there and cross-teach, cross-train. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's why we're working those guys. Like in our goal line scrimmage today, Power didn't play. He and Amari were out, so we had all those young ones just going in. Amari's young, but he's more experienced than they are. So we're trying to find the 3rd and 4th corner. We've got 4 safeties. I'm really excited about our safeties. They look really good, and we can rotate them at any time, and we are. We've got 3 guys that we think can play star. Caleb's ahead, but the other 2, Trey Miller and Tyshawn, are both where they could play. So I'm excited about them. And then you've got Dez and Kamen Rucker, Dez Evans, and Bo Atkinson have been dominant up front. Those 3 have been really good pass rushers. And Dez has had his best 2 days, the last 2 days that I've seen since he's been here. So hopefully they can keep growing. Our tackles have trouble blocking them. We would absolutely have to chip if we played ourselves to be able to protect.
Mack, when the ACC network was here, you mentioned, I guess, a situation where recently in practice where some defensive leaders came to you and said, this guy's not doing what he's supposed to do, keep him out of line. Can you just explain that a little bit more, what happened?
Yeah, we were there, and Ted was starting to send a guy in, and Kamen Rucker was the one that said no. No, coach, he's not doing what he's supposed to do. Don't put him in. We don't trust him. He's got to grow up. Then afterwards, they all met with him, and they all said, you either start doing these to be on time. It wasn't awful things. It was be on time, keep your mouth shut, start studying the playbook more, and earn the right to get in there. And I've never seen that, so that was pretty cool.
Mac, you mentioned urgency off the top. Is bringing in a guy like Josh Harris on the defense, who has been at 2 schools, and this is his last year before potentially going pro, is he a part of that movement?
Absolutely. You look at Des Evans, Kamen Rucker, him, they're all at the end. Ritzy's been sore some, but when he's in there, he's done really well. Travis Shaw's doing a good job. When you get somebody like Josh that's leading, the rest of them follow. And that's really been impressive. So he has been a great addition for us. You think about Kevin Hester, Travis Shaw, and Josh Harris up front. That's a lot of body. There's some big guys in there.
This is a lot of body.
I was just going to say, Mac, how have you seen the guys respond to the emphasis on urgency and finishing in camp?
We're all over it with them because we have a thought of the day every day that we actually got from Coach Smith 100 years ago. And today's was go back and look at your last 24 hours. What'd you do to prepare yourself for this practice? Did you sleep? Did you eat right? Did you get in bed when you were supposed to? Did you not put anything in your mouth that you shouldn't put in there? It's going to help you. So what'd you do? And if you didn't do that, then you don't deserve to play. And we also told them afterwards, don't tell me you want to play. Every one of you want to play. But we're pressing you enough that you've got to show us you want to play, and you've got to earn the right to play. And then when you do, it's in front of everybody because we're showing clips every day to the team of guys who are doing well. And if you're not in those clips, then obviously you haven't earned the right to play.
Mac, just along those lines, that got me thinking about what last year, one of the mantras was 9 isn't enough that you said. Like, is there a mantra you've put in place?
What I've told them this year is let's just play the best we can play every week and be the best team we can be. Let's don't get into numbers. Because we were better than 8 last year until we weren't.
Yeah.
And there's different levels of good enough. We were talented enough, but we didn't play hard enough all the time. So that means you're not good enough. And everybody says, you were better than that. We weren't. I mean, the big eye in the sky don't lie. And the scoreboard tells you the story, and that's what it is. So we haven't gotten the credit for what we have done. And we haven't because we've lost 3 times to a rival, and we've lost at the end of the year. So we haven't near gotten the credit for being the second most productive team in the ACC. That would be a great question on Jeopardy or somewhere because nobody get it at all. We don't get credit for having the best grades in the league because nobody really cares. They only care if they're bad. They don't care if they're good. And these kids have been incredible. So I've told them, you're so close, step up and finish. Because our expectations are higher than others too because we've started well. So that's on us. That's on us. But we're not into how many we're going to win. We're into doing the best we can do every game. And I told them, you're not going to play great all the time. But we've got to start winning games where we don't play well in. And to do that, you got to have high energy every game, and you can do that.
Mac, running back room is a position group I feel like isn't getting talked about a ton this fall camp because of how good Omarion is. How do you feel about the depth behind that right now? You got Caleb Hurd, Davion Goss. You feeling pretty good with that position group, behind Omarion Hampton?
Yeah, we are. Darwin Barlow is very talented. He just got here, so he's still learning. You got to protect better and got to make sure you hold on the ball and do the things. But he's very talented. Davion Goss just amazes us with his maturity. He's starting on 4 special teams. He may be the best or second best pass protector out there as a true freshman, and he's got very good vision. He scored a couple of times today on red zone, so he's going to have a role. And then Caleb Hood's been so good; he just staying healthy, and right now he's healthy. He's playing, and we're pushing him. So all 4 of those guys have a chance to play. So that room's really good.
You got Billy at one guard. Is the other guard spot still a battle? Is that maybe one of the better under-the-radar battles you guys have had in camp?
Yeah, we're actually looking at Malik McGowan's been playing there along with Aiden Banfield. And we're also looking at the possibility of Ja'Kai Leftwich, who is the 3rd tackle, also playing some guard. Because we're trying to find the best 7-8 that we can get to rotate.
We talked to Chip yesterday about a little bit about the scrimmage, and he said sometimes A guy looks good against the second team, you get him in a scrimmage. Young guys, they don't look as good against the first team. Aiden Banfield, did he pass that test the other night?
Yeah.
He was legitimately a guy that could get on the field?
Yeah, what you got to do is you got to prepare yourself for a true freshman that would play against Minnesota in the first game he's ever played in on the road in a tough environment. So that takes a lot of confidence. So we're just going to keep working him. He is going to play this year, and he's going to be a really good player. Whether he starts against Minnesota or not will just determine what happens every day, because we're actually hitting a lot every day and telling them we're moving you up and moving you down, and he's going to be a good player.
Mac, 2 years ago, you sort of had a similar schedule set up to this year where you had 4 non-conference and then 8 straight league games to the year. And you said you were treating that as sort of a mini season and then sort of seeing where you are after that. Not to look too far ahead, but are you treating this year sort of the same because you have the 4 and 8 set up?
Yeah, you always want to win your conference championship. So what we've got is that we divide our season up every year into different parts. So those first 4 games will be the start of the season for sure, and then we'll stop, we'll regroup, we'll reevaluate everything, and then start over at Duke.
Matt, on the scrimmage from the other night, obviously it was pouring rain. Did that limit you in any ways with the weather? And also, what were some of your top line things that you personally noted coming out of there? Guys who stood out or didn't stand out? Just what were some of your notes that you made?
Well, the first thing we said, if we could get out there without lightning, we wanted to go, because it's going to rain on us at some point during the season, and we don't want to have an excuse that we were limited. I mean, that's excuses. They don't always play indoors. So you got to handle the elements. So, yes, it was harder for the offense, but that doesn't matter. They've got to play in that weather. It's harder for the punters and the kickers, but they've got to play in that weather. But one thing, it's really funny when you're, as a head coach this time of year, you stay frustrated because if your offense is not turning the ball over, that means your defense is not forcing turnovers. So I brag on the offense and jump on the defense. It's harder unless you're scrimmaging live, because in Thud, a lot of times we tell them, stay up. And it's hard to strip the ball without pulling them down, and don't hit the quarterback. And a lot of times the quarterback disruption is where turnovers come. Then we've worked so hard on explosives. The defense is giving up fewer explosives right now than they've given up since we've been here. I really like what our secondary is doing. Marcus Allen and Elijah Huzzy are playing really well. And then the 4 safeties I really like. We're tackling better in space. We're doing things that we need to do better. But then again, a bunch of the receivers have had a pull. They've been hurt. They've been sore. So we have not had the continuity in our passing game that we want. And then that's harder to evaluate the quarterbacks when your receivers aren't all well. So we're playing a group of different receivers at all times. So we need to get somebody healthy so we can get out there. The one that's been the healthiest and played the most consistent has been Nate McCullum, which is really, really good. He and Bryson Nesbitt have been the 2 best at that, quote, pass-catching positions.
Just going back to Kamen and him coming to you and saying this player's not doing what he's supposed to, can you just talk about with this preseason how he's developed as a leader and what you've seen?
Yeah, he's a National Honor student, National Honor Society student out of high school. He was undersized. He has a chip on his shoulder every day because everybody told him he was too little. And I think that's a great advantage for him on pass rush because he can dip his shoulder and get under our 6'8" tackles. So that makes it harder for them. But what you look for is who's going to be disruptive in a game. And he's disruptive every week. He practices the same every day. He works the same every day. And there's absolutely no way one of those other younger kids can tell him, leave me alone, don't say that. I mean, they're going to listen. Because he and Power Eccles are running this team and on defense, and that's a positive.
Coach, who are some of the young players that have surprised you with their performance thus far?
Jeremy said you would ask.
Maybe not you specifically.
So I put red dots next to him. Aiden Banfield. We're really excited about him, and he will play. I don't know when, how much, but he will play in the offensive line. And then Ja'Kai Leftwich, we haven't seen, but he's 6'6", 335, and he will play as an alternating tackle, because right now it would be those 3, or he will play as a alternating guard. But he's going to play a lot because he is a really good player. Darwin Barlow, he and Davion Goss are both going to be in the game, and they're going to be playing. Bo Atkinson has done an amazing job at pass rushing, so that's really helped us. Josh Harris, we've talked about him. He brought a huge impact to this team. He stands up at the end of practice and says things. I had him as one of the guys breaking down the team at the end of the day because he worked so hard. And when you get a senior that's through, and this is it, and he wants to play in the NFL, so he wants to help your team and make the NFL, he's driven. And he's driven every day. He's already lost. He was 350 when he got here. He was 338 this morning. So he is working so hard, and I'm so proud of him and can't wait to watch him continue to grow. We've got to get either Tyler Thompson or J. Brown Harvey to be able to help Kamen Rucker. We talked about the young linebackers. You've got Ashton Woods, Michael Short, Caleb LaValle, Cade Law, and Cruz Law, all that are fighting for spots. So that's an area we've got to improve. And after Saturday, you start looking at Minnesota, so it needs to come this week. And then we're really proud of all four safeties, like I said. And Jakeem Harris has really been a good impact coming in. And the other one would be Caleb Cost. And those are guys that Tyshawn White's done some good things, but Caleb Cost plays like an older guy.
Mack, you mentioned this before, but you played two quarterbacks at various stops before. Do you anticipate that may happen this year with Max and Connor or not?
I don't know. I watch all your interviews. I watched your interview with Chip yesterday, and it was interesting that somebody on TV took the lead that was we were going to play two quarterbacks during the game. That's not what he said at all, because I listened to it very carefully. We have in the past. We will not if somebody separates. But if we're not really sure which one would be the best, we'll play both. And I don't know what that means yet, because you don't get to that point till you get about 10 days out. And that's when you start making decisions, okay? Or are there certain times when one plays and the other one comes in? So we'll just have to look at that. Here we did it a lot with Jason Stanisak and Mike Thomas and Chris Keldorf and Oscar Davenport. Those guys, we changed a lot. So it seemed like, the best I remember, everyone that started stunk and the other one came in, won the game. So that's kind of what we did. So, but we're not planning on playing two, but unless somebody takes over, then obviously you put both of them out there, and the one that takes over and starts winning the game would play more.
There's a saying that if you have two, you really don't have one, but you have one playing multiple quarterbacks. So you go back and look at the Stanisic period and the Keldorf and then Major Applewhite, Chris Sims, you've won a lot playing two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So that's something that really, I would imagine, bothers you in the sense that if you have to do it, you already know how to do it.
Yeah. My whole coaching philosophy has been do what you need to do to win with the people that have the best ability to do it. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to figure out what can Max do and what can Connor do enough alike that the blue offensive line gets to work on it every day, but we can highlight whatever they do differently. And then we do it. And I'm not into, I used to say catching two fish at one time when I've been in the mountains was better than catching one fish. I do know if you've got one quarterback and he gets hurt and the other one's not ready to play, you're in trouble. We've got three that can play. If one of the two got hurt, Jacoby could get ready to play by taking every snap, and because he's experienced and been around, he makes some unbelievable throws, and he'll be in the mix if somebody gets hurt or by next year, because he's got 2 years. So I'm excited about the quarterbacks. I just want them to be better leaders, and it's always hard when one of them's not in charge. I remember telling Drake, you don't say much. He said, I'm not the starter. We don't have a starter. So until one of them gets that role, it is harder for them to step up and lead, but I've told them it's their job. You're on call every day showing us who can lead and who can make a difference in this team.
Have you seen what you wanted to from Tom McGinnis so far?
I'm sorry?
Have you seen what you were hoping to see from Tom?
Yeah, we're punting the regular punt and the rugby punt both. And both punters have tremendous legs. And I would say that both have been 75% good, but some inconsistency that we got to get rid of.
Mack, we're hoping to get Randy Clements at some point, I think, this training camp, and talk to him about what he's been through.
Yeah.
Can you I mean, would you be willing to share
Yeah,
some of the things?
I'll share
I mean,
some
get
of
into
it.
that.
I'll let him share the rest of it. But you're going to get him tomorrow?
Right tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's been an ordeal.
Yeah, I'm sitting there on Sunday on reporting day, and I get a call at 4 that Randy's in the hospital, and he's tough, so he didn't want to go to the hospital, and he had a stomach disorder that was really scary and really dangerous, and he spent a week there, and I mean, as tough and stubborn as he is, he was Zooming with us and
Right.
texting me during practice how they look. I said, Randy, I got more to do than text you about how they look. Watch a video. But he's come back and he acts like he's not sick. I mean, he has been out here every day. He's been at every meeting. His wife's out here monitoring him every day to make sure he does what he's supposed to do. But he's tough, and the kids really responded. And it obviously got us behind because you missed your guy.
Yeah.
And he had 2 that had never played before here in Greenberg and Leftwich. And he's got Howard that he had coached. So it slowed us down some, but I'm still standing with, I'm excited about both lines of scrimmage, probably more than I have been since I've been here. Are we there yet? No. Do we still have things that steps and everything else? But when you put good against good, it's a fight, and it's a fight every time. We did put Willie in a bind because when you got 2 6'8" tackles, he looks even shorter. So that's tough.
I was going to say, speaking about Coach Clements, is that something that could flare up again, or is it behind him now? Do you feel?
I think he would have to tell you. I think he's fine. I think they'll have to look at it again in the spring. But short term, he's fine, and he's out of the danger zone, or he wouldn't be out here, obviously.
Right.
Mac, how have you guys been trying to simulate the environment that you're going to see in Minnesota in practice? Because it's national TV week 1.
Yeah,
It's going to be a lot
I've told them you're going to have what you had at Virginia Tech after COVID. So that's what you got. And I enjoy those environments. I said enjoy it. And with the helmet communication, we're turning the music up really loud so they can't hear. So they have to really work to hear Chip and Jeff. So I think that'll help as well.
Like, now that you've had, I guess, a couple weeks of practice with the guys, Zach Greenberg's, one guy that, some people have kind of, mentioned the last few weeks. How have you seen him, obviously coming from that D3 level, how have you seen him competing in these last couple of weeks?
We were going to put him at both guard and center, but we feel like he needs to get settled because it's all new and fast for him. And he's the backup center, and he's done a good job with it. He's had a couple of bad snaps every now and then, but that's because he's trying too hard. But we're just trying to get him settled. And I think he'll be a good player. He's definitely worth signing him.
How's he been with the physicality?
Good. He's been good, and you got those big bodies on you now. It's a mess. I mean, if you can imagine ducking your head and putting the ball between your legs and having Josh Harris breathing on you. I mean, it's not.
Great.
Yeah, it's not fun and simple and easy. So, but it's been really good. He has not backed down. He has not gotten frustrated, and I've just told our guys, like, the defense playing so well, then they didn't handle it as well coming out. We haven't handled success well. So we got to grow up. We just got to grow up. And we've got to be stronger and tougher. And if you're going to be a great team, you got to be a great team every day. You can't be – you can have great days, but that doesn't make a great team. And that's where we've got them.
We got time for 2 more.
Mac, as it look, it's what is it, August 11th, I think. As you look at it right now, like for this offense to be able to play to its strengths, like you've mentioned, will it have to be an Omari and Hampton-led offense? With some of the questions you have at quarterback, like, does he have to sort of lead you guys?
Yeah, I would think yes and no to answer it. We're good enough at receiver. We're good enough at quarterback. We're good enough at tight end. We got enough pieces because people are going to try to stop Omarion. So we're going to see the box being full, and there's going to be one-on-ones, and we're going to have to take advantage of them. But our quarterbacks are good. They're talented. I'm not worried about it. We turn on TV and see Drake and Sam.
Right.
So I got it. But like we said, Connor's shown some days where he's really talented, and Max has played a lot of ball. So I think and Max is accurate. He's 6'5". Max can run better than people think he can. And Connor consistently gets better. I think, again, Clyde's helping all three of those quarterbacks. And then you put Jacoby in, and he'll make some plays that wow you. And you're saying, well, how simple can we get him this spring? And we can do that. But I am not worried about our quarterbacks. I think they'll be fine. As a team, we've got to be more consistent. And I've told them, if you play bad with energy, you've still got a chance to win. If you play bad and let your head get down and you lose your confidence and have bad body language, or you don't have energy when you came, you're going to get beat. And that's what we've done in some cases that we got to change.
I asked Chip yesterday, this kind of goes off what you're saying with the quarterbacks, like they kind of have different starting points. You know, Max all the experience, Connor younger, Jacoby coming in late. So does that give you an idea that maybe this battle, maybe more open-minded to changing it as things go on?
Yes, and there is a starting point. You know, we have to play Minnesota. So, I mean, we have to make some decisions, but who knows if that's the end game. I mean, we may learn something at Minnesota we can't learn in practice. Who handles games better? If we're not doing well, we'll probably put the other one in at that point if it wasn't working, because they're both talented and they've both been starters. So I'm not taking that out either. Every decision we'll make will be to win the game. So if somebody goes in and they're playing great, we got a quarterback and a backup that's good. If somebody's really struggling, somebody said, well, they can't have them looking over their shoulder. Quarterbacks always look over their shoulder. I mean, I got the hardest job in football. So we can't. If he can't handle pressure, then he's probably at the wrong position.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.